So when you're reaching out, and this is very much about reaching out and connecting with people internally and externally, the brokers that they're a part of your extended family. Hey, you know what? Keep it light and friendly. I don't think we needed today some deep dive treatment of sales methodology. So it's my intention to keep it light and friendly. So here we go. And I want to let you know how we're reacting at Anthical Training Group. We're reaching out to, whoops, did not mean to go quite that fast. We're reaching out to our contacts, Maria, both our customers and our prospects. And one of our sales guys came up with these the 5 hows, and they're on the screen. And it's become a foundation for us in reaching out to people, sometimes once a week, sometimes every other week, and just asking those 5 great how questions. How you doing? And how's your family, and how's the business aspect of your world? How's the agency? How's the brokerage house doing? How are your people? And in number 5, how can I help you? So Mario, I'm gonna start with you. I'm gonna call in a couple people, but as you look at those 5 questions, Mario, which one resonates with you the most in terms of reaching out and staying connected to people that you just can't be around?
Well, let me preface by saying a couple of weeks ago when this all started, we did get together with the team and we emphasized that rapport building and checking in is more important right now than trying to solicit business. So as everybody knows, we're not pulling out our inventory list and calling brokers and asking for the 14 target prospects in July or August and things like that. But I do think it's important for every one of us to continue the rapport, be empathetic with our brokers and stay in touch with people that way. So the key one here that I ask everybody and I start out with is, how's your family? How are you doing? And let the conversation revolve from there. But every conversation does not have to revolve around business tasks and prospects and renewals. I've made now about 40 broker calls in the last 10 to 12 days. And basically it's, how's your family doing? How you guys coping with it? And having a two-way conversation about transition and where we're at now. And I think that is very much appreciated by all the brokers. So I know we'll probably open it up to the rest of the team, and love to hear, what's working, what we're all hearing. But I think there's a lot of support and sincerity when you're asking somebody, how's your family doing? How are the kids? How are you managing right now? So that's my 2 cents at this point.
Anybody else? Other thoughts about those questions and how you've been reaching out? Don't be shy.
Yeah, sure. I can go.
Go ahead.
So I've also been reaching out on more of that empathetic foot, if you will. So leading with how are you first as a person, and then going into the family. And I actually tell them straight up that this is not a solicitation call, and that I just wanted us just to check in to see everything. And usually everyone, when they recognize that this has nothing to do with business, and I'm very honest and open about it, people are very receptive to it. And to be quite honest, people start running out of things to say, and the conversation organically goes towards business. I've found, again, me not pushing it towards business, but that's what people know. That's what people feel comfortable talking about. And so I've actually had success about talking about some renewals. And again, talking about not so much about the future, but giving people a fair warning that at some point, probably within the next month or so, let's say 3 to 4 weeks, I will start calling on business and just get to some sort of normality. So
yeah, well said, David.
Yeah, so just kind of teeing it up, because at some point the conversation about how you're doing and trying to be empathetic will have to come to an end, and life does go on. So I do paint the future for them, and I give them a timeline as to when I plan on being more hands-on with prospects, and people are generally okay with it.
Yep. Anybody else? We've only got 5 or 6 slides for you today, so I built in some time for you to react and share stories about maybe it's a call. How about this? How about this question for the group? How about a call you've received?
I got a call from a broker. This is Joe Canese, out of Miami, Paul Manning, and he said, "Joe, I know you had pneumonia a couple of years ago. Just checking in on you, seeing how you're doing, seeing, you know, if you've had any issues during all this." And then he told me a couple stories about a few friends that I know down there that may have had the virus, and had a nice conversation with him. But I appreciated him checking up on me.
No doubt. And you know, people are going to remember that, Joe and David, right? You can nod your head, David. They're going to remember that call. And here's a great quote from a Pat Lencioni webinar that I attended last week. Let me get it in the chat box so you can see it. Here you go. Trust is the main currency in today's world. There's never been a time where trust has always been important, but it's particularly important today. And so, David, I like the optics of the conversation you're having. And here's the tension that we're in. I inadvertently, I was trying to clean my screen on my phone about an hour and a half ago, and I inadvertently dialed Drew Jones. Of all the numbers it could have pulled up, it pulled up Drew, and I'm thinking he's probably in the middle of 8 things, and he calls me back and says, "Hey, did I miss something? Do you need me? Everything okay?" And we just had a conversation, and we were talking about, you know, a lot of businesses are still open, and we are, and we walk or live in that tension between, we lead with empathy, you know, but we also recognize that some businesses, some banks, some insurance concerns, they're still going to need our help. One reached out to me from Portland, Oregon, and I was being very gentle with them, David, and they said, "Hey, listen, we want some training now because our people, our new hires, they're in the office, and they're, quite frankly, we're running out of things for them to do." So we live between the two extremes. We're not going to stick our head in the sand, but we're also not going to come across as some kind of opportunist. So that phrase, that statement, trust is the main currency that the world is operating on today. Here's another thought, and the word compliment. The subtitle: we rise by lifting others. The world around me is changing. I mentioned this morning with the Bluebell Group, I'm seeing things that I really like, and that I hope outlive this season we're in. And here's the lesson I've learned. So I'll type it in the chat box, so here you can chat back at me. We know that people, I'll put we know that we like to receive compliments. But what else is true? Maybe you found this to be true. I've added another truth here. We know it's good to receive them. Go ahead.
Mark, can you hear me?
I can.
You know, I'll answer your question, but one of my guiding principles in my life is, you've heard me say this before, I don't care how much you know until I know how much you care.
Agreed.
And Mike D and I had an interesting situation this morning. We've got a deal pending, and the communication has been poor with the broker, and finally he was able to get it moved off center. He asked me to follow up on another issue, and when I finally got this person, I could tell she had been crying. She was very upset. And Mike and I, you know, I guess I can speak for him, we were frustrated as all heck that she was not getting back. Mike had done everything that had been asked, but it's like, come on, people, help us here. And we're still trying to operate in a framework of, come on, let's get this done. And my golly, when I got her on the phone and I realized she had been emotionally very upset, heaven only knows what it was, but it really took me aback, and it made me realize, Jeff, everybody's dealing with this situation differently.
Sure.
Some are more emotional. Some have different levels of anxiety about the new work environment and what they can and can't do. Some of us feel like caged animals.
Yeah.
But the point being is, the other word I'd say, and whether it be empathy or sensitivity, especially right now, we cannot judge. We can't use how we're feeling on how somebody else, because when I got her finally on the phone and I realized she had been crying, it just really took me aback.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. And look, thanks, Jeff, and David's comment. We know that people like to feel like others sincerely care about your well-being, and Katie just nailed it. It lifts each of us up, and we give compliments. It feels good to know that we made someone's day. You know, one of the things that I'm trying to keep in mind, and for sales leaders, I always ask them to, on a daily basis, make one person better at one thing every day. If you're a sales leader, that's a great goal. Can you make every day one person better at one aspect of their job? And I have found, Katie, to your point, that, you know, giving the compliments, heck, I think it feels just as good as receiving them, because we do lift each other's up. And Jeff, to your point, I won't mention names here, but in our company, one of our field coaches, since this pandemic started, get this, her husband lost his mom, lost his sister, and they're having to put down their dog this week. I can't even imagine.
Wow.
I can't imagine a confluence of events like that in normal times, not to mention now when, I mean, you can't go hug your family. You really can't schedule the funeral. So your point, Jeff, is well taken. You just don't know. And so I'm just looking to compliment people. And I'm not gonna sermonize here. Please don't take this the wrong way. I don't know where everybody on this call is with matters of faith, and I respect all differences. But I reached out to a friend of mine whose wife is an ICU nurse, and I said, "Hey, Rick, I just want you to know that over the weekend I just felt compelled to lift your wife up and to pray for her safety." And you know what? Maybe somebody would say it was awkward, but he was not offended. He was not offended that someone lifted up his wife's concern and referred to her as one of the many superheroes on the front lines and around the world today. And so just look for a chance internally before I leave this slide. Just find somebody internally that is worthy. And when somebody notices, you have no idea, Jeff, I'll bet you agree with this, you have no idea the good you can do by just shooting them a quick email or making a quick phone call to them.